Hey guys, so today we're going to be drawing an ear. So we're going to kind of continue on with these, facial features that we've been doing in class. And now we are on to the ear. So I'll just jump right into it. Basically, all you're going to need today, a pencil. A pen is fine, but a pencil works better with blending and things. But definitely a pencil if you have one. So I'm just going to start off by adding an oval on my page. And then I'm just going to add a straight line through that oval. It's going to be a little bit to the side. The more angled you make it, the thinner your ear is going to be, the more of an angle. And then the straighter you make it, it's going to be a little wider. So for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to have it go a little bit wider. So it's going to be my reference line. And then now we can start sketching the shape of the ear using this as a reference. So first things first, I'm going to take a line from our original reference line and drag it up kind of at a slight curve back to our original circle. Then I'm going to take my line and just trace the original oval about halfway through. Now I'm going to do kind of the same thing we did here, except on the bottom. I'm just going to take a line, bring it down to our original oval, follow that oval for a bit. Then, once you have this kind of little divot here, I'm going to take a straight line and connect it back to that original line we drew. And you can thin out that oval if it looks a little funky. And now we have the shape that we're going to be working with for our ear. So now we can start off by drawing the little divot that we have in our ear. So about halfway through between the first line on our reference line and our second line on our reference line, I'm going to start drawing a little mountain. And it's just a really little mountain. And then from there, I'm going to take a small letter C and connect that. And right here, this is what is going to be the ear lobe. So we're going to want to keep that area nice and big. And then now I'm going to draw another mountain, connecting to that C. And then now I'm going to draw a big backward C connecting to that mountain. And the C is going to go all the way, wrap around pretty intense, and hook back to around there in the ear. And it's really important that we keep kind of all this space clear. So you can even make your hook go a little lower down. We're going to add a bunch of stuff up there. So now we have that C. Now we're going to add another C, and this C is going to wrap around the whole ear. And it's going to be more of a loop at the beginning. But starting from kind of just around here, around this area, right below where our original C ended. We're going to bring another C, another big loop, and just bring that all the way around the ear. And you can just kind of stop it right when you get to the earlobe. And this area in here, we're going to shade it to kind of look like a Y, but for now I'm going to add in another line just to kind of help us when we start shading. Just coming from that line where we just ended on the earlobe, just branch that off slightly, following our original C curve. And this is going to be kind of like the base of the Y. So you can kind of see right here is going to be the triangle, and that's like the Y. And now the last line we're going to add until before we start shading is just wherever you started your little loop here, we're going to add the same line coming off of our original mountain hoop or mountain hump. And it's just, we're going to draw a parallel line. So the same exact starting line, we're just going to draw it there. And that is it for actually sketching the ear. Now we can go on to shading it. So I'm going to start by shading in this place in here, which is kind of where the eardrum would be. But I'm going to go kind of step by step shading in this demonstration instead of doing our normal like highlight circles, everything, just because the ear is very important to shade properly, because it's kind of just, you know, winding lines and skin and stuff. That shading is going to be really important to differentiate the flaps and the rise in skin, you know, all that stuff. So anyways, I'm going to start by shading in this earlobe here. So just adding my first layer right in here, right next to the mount. Just gonna have it stop just right there for now. We'll go through and add extra layers over here. And now I'm gonna add my second layer right where that eardrum would be. So the darkest part is gonna be where that eardrum is. And now I'm going to go in and add my third layer to it, right where that eardrum is. So the darkest part of our piece should be right behind the eardrum. All right, now we have that eardrum piece done. We can move on to kind of the center of the ear. So basically, we're going to want this part, the center part of the circle, to kind of mimic this C part. And to do that, we have to do it with shading, because if we draw actual lines, then it tends to look a little funky. But I'm going to start by just shading the outside portion of this C. So just kind of the exterior rim of it. Really, really lightly. Adding that first layer all the way around. Almost making like a circle. So that is what should look like when you add your first layer. And then I'm also going to go in and just kind of shade this area right in here. So just going to kind of darken that up a bit in kind of a C shape. So we still want this center region to be highlighted kind of in the shape of a C, a backward C. All right, so now we can go through and add our second layer. I'm going to really focus on the edges of where we just added our color. So instead of bringing it out a little bit like we do in our first layer, I'm going to focus on keeping it concentrated towards the edges. And that area that we added up at the end there, I'm going to add a second layer there as well, just to kind of make it seem like it is coming up a little bit. Alright, and then now I'm going to add a third layer right below this original line we drew to kind of make that seem like it's coming off a little more. Then we're going to go through and add a layer all the way around this original large C. Just a light layer all the way around that. And then now I'm going to go through and kind of add another layer, focusing right here where this Y and the original C are going to meet. I want that to be a little bit darker. Now we can actually go through and add the Y. So I'm going to add a little triangle of shading just up here to start the shape of our Y. Then I'm going to go in and focus some shading right here, right where that triangle of the Y is. And I'm going to shade it up a little bit. Now I'm going to be doing the same thing over here. Just kind of shading these edges. And now we can work on shading the outside, and then we'll go through and shade all these raised parts as well. But I'm just going to add a light layer on the outside of the ear. Just a light layer of shading all the way around. And then I'll do it on the other side. I'm going to be careful not to color in the middle of that ear. It's going to act as kind of our highlighted region. And I'll do the same thing on that little Y part. It's kind of a continuous shading. And then now, I'm going to add another layer on the top of the earlobe there because I missed out on that. I'm going to add a little divot in the middle of the earlobe, so kind of about where you would get your ear pierced or something like that. Just going to add a light little layer. And then now I'm just going to go through and clean up all my lines that we added, just to make sure that they are clean and apparent. And that's just going to kind of clean up the whole thing a little bit before we continue shading. And I'm just going to do this for pretty much every line we added. And this is just going to really define all the ear stuff. And then once you get to kind of the middle of that ear, outline the sides of this Y here, the insides of here, but be careful about making this outline too dark, so I'm just going to go a little lighter in there. And then now that you have this all darkened up, you're basically just want to go in and soften out those lines a little bit. So everywhere you added some dark shading, you're just going to go in, add a layer to buff that out. And same thing, like the inside here, just add that layer, buff that out. Alrighty, and then for your final touch, I'm going to go through and just kind of go with one whole layer over just to blend everything together. And that is it for the ear. I'm going to erase my guidelines so you guys can see what it looks like standing alone. Alright, but that is pretty much what it should look like. So you can see we've got these little raised pieces there, and we've got some, divots, whatnot. Just go through and kind of wherever you feel like your piece needs to be darkened or shadened, be sure to do that. So for example, the darkest point should be right here in this Y, right under here where this curve is happening, and right in the eardrum, and right in here as well. So we should have some very dark pieces in our ear. Here are some other ears for reference. These ones are a little bigger. But yeah, so that is all for this lesson. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in class next week. Bye.